is back together again.
At least momentarily.
What? Okay, I've tried to explain it to the people. I guess. What the hell happened to you, Danny? That's where we'll start.
I mean, we got to go back about 20 years from that. But in all seriousness, they don't know what happened.
No, what happened to how you got hurt?
Well, that's the thing is they aren't 100% certain. I was just talking to one of the guys that was with me at the game who walked with me from the hotel to Autzen, which is like a mile and a half. And I felt kind of a weird twinge.
Walking.
Okay. Which, for those that don't know, obviously with the hip surgeries and stuff like that and all the other knee surgeries I've had, like my legs are trashed. But I've been dealing with a knee injury for the last probably 4 or 5 weeks that physical therapy and draining it and just not been great. And I was like, you know what? We've been on the bus for a couple hours. I definitely need to get out and move because it's sitting for any long periods of time just exacerbates it. So, and I felt kind of like a little something. Now,
little twinge.
The more I started thinking about it, copious amounts of alcohol were had up until this point.
No way.
I mean, before we left the first stop, I think I had 2 mojitos and 5 mimosas.
All right.
So we were already, that was before we left to go to the next spot.
Mm-hmm.
And then more was had.
Okay.
So I'm wondering if when I felt that little twinge, maybe it was a little bit worse than I thought.
Okay.
Because I just kind of plowed through it.
Yeah.
I got home that night and I could barely get in and out of my car.
All right. Yeah, that's not good.
So I was like, oh, what is this? I'm like, did I pull something? Like what?
Yeah.
I got out of my car at home and I almost fell because the pain was so staggering. I got in the house and I got ready to get to bed. I crawled into bed and I had tears running down my face because of the pain.
Not because USC lost.
No.
Are you sure?
Yeah, we knew that was going to happen. Hey, they covered.
Yeah, backdoor cover.
Covered, baby. But in all seriousness, they think that, so you've got multiple like layers to your hamstring. The one that you normally tear is fine. They think I might have one. It's right up the base of my butt.
Okay.
The lateral hamstring might be torn, and then there's some other mechanisms that aren't working that are causing basically everything in my right hip to lock up.
Okay.
So I'm on all of the drugs.
All right.
And in a lot of pain, and we're just going to kind of figure this out as we go through it all.
Next follow-up.
I'm on a lot of drugs.
That's really hot. Is that loud for anybody else?
No.
Yeah, that was a little hot.
That was a little hot. It was a little hot. It was a little loud. It was a little loud. Okay, the other follow-up question that I have not had an answer to, I've just said the pain. We've gotten the you can't sit and do the show.
Yeah.
That's what it's been like. You haven't even been able to sit.
No, and even right now, like sitting here right now, like it's not great.
Sitting.
Yeah. I'm sitting on my left butt cheek with my right leg out in front of me so I can kind of lean on the left side and not put a ton of pressure on the right side. And it's
people got we got all the questions, and you have the questions too.
Yeah, no,
you have the questions too.
We don't have a ton of answers right now to what's causing this. So we're going to do imaging today and tomorrow to hopefully get a better understanding of where stuff's at.
Well, I hope it starts feeling better for you.
So do I.
That's it does not sound good. I didn't even know there was a lateral hamstring.
I didn't either.
That's that doesn't sound like it'd be good though.
No. So, and I've never had hamstring issues. So this is new. Like all my stuff has always been like joint related. It's never been the stuff in between.
Yeah.
Like I've had like an Achilles injury, but that's I think the closest that I've come to like that stuff. No calf strains, no hamstring strains. Well, I mean cramps I guess are technically like a version of a strain.
No.
I guess I always thought this was all encompassing.
From the hips down, man, it's a disaster.
That's it right there.
Yeah. It is though.
Yeah,
like,
I've popped my hamstring before and had a very bad tear in it, and it's not like a cramp. So cramps are.
I was saying it's I think it's the bad cramps are like technically a version of a strain.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I hope that you get an answer. You've got more imaging to be done.
Yes, lots of it. So,
and I can confirm he does look like he is in a substantial amount of pain.
Yeah, I'm fighting it right now. So,
what a warrior.
playing hurt.
Playing hurt.
I'm babe.
Playing
To
hurt.
be honest,
Team of the week.
I was miserable being home.
The injury report is in, though.
Yeah.
The injury report is in. Game time decision. He's playing.
We're playing.
He's playing. He's
We're
back.
dragging this thing up and down the court.
All right. Now, since you haven't been here, all right, go through it. What was it like watching up close and personal? You were on the USC bench.
Yeah, no, that was
watching that thing unfold in USC's not good.
No. Two things I took away from that is one, my God, Caleb Williams is a freak, and the stuff he has to do behind that offensive line is incredible because that was a sieve.
Yeah, they're in trouble next year.
Dorless is a dude.
Dorless is a dude. They got a few dudes on that defense.
Yeah,
They played really well.
Birch and Dorless really showed out.
Mm-hmm.
Tez has got to hold on to the bleeping ball. My God.
Yeah, had a couple drops.
It just
Also had a really big touchdown. Broke the dam.
Well, I mean, Max Williams might as well just been wearing the Bumblebee jerseys for the Ducks at that point in time. I've never seen a DB get turned around more than he did in the first quarter of that game.
But Alex Grinch was the problem.
Oh yeah, no, I mean he. I actually really did like what SC did adjustment wise in the second half.
Yeah, well, they didn't really change much. They simplified everything though because they have really good athletes.
Yeah, and then when they just decided to, I mean, Bo picked them apart. And what was interesting was, I thought Bo was obviously the numbers were incredible. I didn't think Bo was great in the sense of like how the Bo that I saw, he looked more like the Bo that I saw in the first half against Washington as opposed to the second half, and yet his numbers were still incredible, which is more a credit to just how good he is.
What do you mean by that?
There was a couple throws where I was just sitting there like, you've been good, but why are you missing that throw? And it wasn't his best game as far as being surgical, yet he was incredible with his numbers. Because if you take away the three big plays where Max Williams decided he didn't want to play football, apparently, that was 225 yards on 3 throws.
Mm-hmm.
He had 187 the rest of the game.
Mm-hmm.
And it was very much just, I don't know. It wasn't a bad game from him, but it wasn't what I had seen from him against other teams, just absolutely picking them apart.
Yeah, I mean, he had 3 word drops, so that would have put him
completion percentage
at like 23 of 28.
No, yeah.
And so I mean that.
Yeah, no. Trust me, I get it. It was just there was something about it that didn't. It didn't feel like what I had seen him do against Washington that second half or early in the season where he was just
throwing to wide open people.
Yeah, I mean, super useful. But the thing that surprised me the most was Oregon's inability or unwillingness to run the ball.
Yeah.
I was blown away.
Well, Bucky got hurt.
I mean
that's a big part of it when Bucky's
came back
ankle
out in the second half,
and I don't think it was
on his foot.
I don't think it was an unwillingness. It was the fact that what USC did was they took away the edges where we talked about that leading up to the game. Everything was to the outside, right? Everything was the outside. They did a really good job of shoring that up. And then when you do have a guy like Mason Cobb in the middle, I mean, funneling thing towards him, probably a good idea to do.
He was the only one who was actually a willing tackler.
Part of simplifying that game plan and part of simplifying what they were doing defensively was they were just taking away the run game and putting their corners out on an island, which leads to the big boppers, right? That leads to 3 catches for over 200 yards because there's zero support over the top. And you're asking those guys, especially Williams in the middle, to cover from sideline to sideline when you have Troy Franklin on one side and Tez on the other. They're really good. They're really good.
I knew he was fast.
Yeah.
The one touchdown was right in front of me. And
yeah, they're fast.
He's fast. Also, I really liked Ferguson.
Yeah, Ferg is good, man.
He was just money.
Yeah.
Every time they went to him, and I was like, with so many explosive offensives in college football right now, it feels like that, with the exception of Georgia when they had Bowers, the utilization of the tight end just isn't there.
It is the most undervalued position in football right now.
It's so weird. Like
it is bizarro world.
You've got Mayer with the Raiders, who was at Notre Dame and one of the best tight ends in the country, and he was used there, but not used in the way like you see like the Travis Kelce's or the Antonio Gates or the Gronkowski's, and you're like, why are these guys not being utilized in college when they're 6'6", 6'7"?
Yep.
And in the middle of the field where you have so much more room to work with.
Sure.
I don't understand it.
I'm with you. All right. Well, we recapped that. You're back, man. I'm glad that you are back. And this is not just your run of the mill hammy that you got going on here.
No,
So,
unfortunately, it's a whole host of things.
Which, because of the disaster from the hips down, kind of all makes sense.
It's all connected, turns out.
I just hope you don't have to Dan Campbell.
Wear a diaper.
That's never been a thing I've had to do.
Well, I just hope it never becomes one.
I did bet.
You missed that. We had Dan Campbell saying you got to wear a diaper when you watch Lions. He tells his family that.
I like that.
Yeah, because you may S your pants.
It's little cardiac kids.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure you guys already talked about that game, but their willingness to go for it, was it on 6 fourth downs this weekend?
Ooh.
That was incredible.
No, we didn't talk about that.
That was a fun game.
We talked about some of it, though.
It was a fun game. I like.
It was a fun game. They're a fun team.
They
and
are.
the Chargers are
Fraudulent.
drunk too. Well, we knew that though.
Yeah.
We knew that though. The Chargers just are the same old Chargers, but it's fun that you have a Lions team that can play in a couple different ways. And heck yeah, they ended up getting a dub there. So S your pants.
There you go. I like it.
Wear a diaper.
How have you guys been?
We've been great.
Yeah.
Well, Rust, he had a migraine. He was out one day this week with the migraine. So, you guys have been banged up.
The Blazers
not
and the,
Will
afternoon show?
not Will Ortner banged up. Not
No,
Will
yeah.
Ortner banged
Well,
up.
I was banged up when I got hurt.
That is true.
Banged up when he got banged up.
Banged up when he got banged up. Yeah, you guys have been. Russ played injured yesterday. He had the migraine 2 days ago. Yesterday he played injured with the migraine, or I guess played hurt. You weren't injured. Hurt or injured? Hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we're back together again. We got 2 days this. Well, hopefully. Danny may not make it through this hour. I don't know. I look over there, and sometimes I think you may fall. This is why you should stream youtube.com/1080am The Fan. You can see the pain in Danny's face. You may see a tear at some point today.
Wouldn't be the first one.
Well, I appreciate you, Willis, reading this. And we shall press on. We got Blazers that we need to talk about today.
Mm-hmm.
They came back to Moda Center.
They did.
And that is probably the team that most people expected to see when the season started, right? If you had low expectations, you went, that's the one.
Yeah, but
That's the one.
It has been exasperated a little bit by the injuries. And we'll
You
talk
think?
about that. Another note, we'll maybe talk about it tomorrow too. The Remix are going to open up their weekend here in Portland tomorrow on Saturday. And it's going to be cool.
Yeah. I saw Ryan Ruper's going down to play with them now.
I mean, because he's not going to get on the floor.
No.
But if you got kids, man, it's such a cool thing to go to. Because you're like, they're going to basically post game, they're going to allow you to kind of like visit with the players.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so it's going to be like a community event up at Childs. I think it's going to be super cool.
We'll have Blazers that we need to talk about today because we got a lot of beeves that we need to talk about. We'll have Angie Machado on. She'll be on at 1 o'clock today. Beaverblitz.com. She's got the scoops. She's got the scoops on where Oregon State may be in their scheduling because the hybrid model has been much discussed. So we'll talk about that with Angie Machado. But I was diving in yesterday to this Oregon State-Washington matchup that we got. This is an awesome one. Should be a college football playoff top 10 matchup as it is. It's number 11 hosting number 5 team in the country. The Beavs looking to knock off the unbeaten Washington Huskies. And I got a question for you. Is this the best Oregon State football has ever been? 503-864-6326. That's the Vancouver Ford text line. This is Danny and Dusty on The Fan. I asked this question, and I knew that I would get this response from the folks listening. Is this the best Oregon State football has ever been? And that is a question that I think a lot of people on the surface you go to, is this the best team that Oregon State has ever had? And a lot of folks, I know Huddleston is on the YouTube comments saying, no, that Fiesta Bowl team was better. They were arguably the second best team in the nation that year. I agree with that. We have some texts that are coming in. They're bringing up that Fiesta Bowl season. And look at Jonathan Smith seems to be the common denominator with that, right? He was a quarterback of that team.
Huh?
But I say, is this the best that Oregon State football has ever been? And I don't mean the team in 2023. I mean the program.
Organizationally.
This program has never been in a spot that they are in right now as far as the health of the actual team itself. Mm-hmm. You're looking at, they've already clinched 3 consecutive winning seasons. Mm-hmm. For the first time in school history, they got to win 2 of their final 3 games, which will be easier said than done when you play the number 5 team, the number 6 team, and then a bowl game, mm-hmm. right? But you are close to becoming the first ever team to go back-to-back 10-win seasons in mm-hmm. Oregon State football history. You have a coach that there isn't that fear, and I know that the pessimists will always say, hey, Jonathan Smith's going to leave because they don't have a conference.
Texas A&M's going to come call on him.
You have a man who he cares about Oregon State, and I think he will be here. Yeah, I think that worry is probably 3 years down the road.
Yeah. When the money starts to become more problematic.
And it becomes an issue after, the Pac-2 revenue streams start drying up.
Shouts to them for winning that case, or at least the early stages.
Absolutely. And it's the right thing to do.
Yes,
right?
100%.
It absolutely is the right thing to do. But you're looking at this Oregon State team where the things that they're doing on the field too this year, they do solidify things in reaching benchmarks that this program has never been to before. Like, they've had 3 games this year where they've scored over 50 points. It's pretty dang good. It's the first time they've done that since 1925. According to the Pac-12. They've been ranked, and this is where I think the real health of this program is, they've been ranked for in the top 25 for 17 consecutive weeks. They've been in the top 25. 17 consecutive weeks they have been in the AP top 25.
That's a good place to be.
That is the first time the program has ever reached that mark. And they are in but they've reached the 11th. I think they still should be 12th. Missouri jumping 5 spots is mind-numbing to me. But you win this week, you'll be a top 10 team. But they've reached the highest they've ever been in the college football playoff top 25 at 11th. That is another strength of the program. But I think that one thing that needs to be considered is all of this is being done at a time where the Pac-12 is at its peak right now. Washington, undefeated. Mm-hmm. Oregon, only lost to Washington, mm-hmm. right? You have a reigning Heisman Trophy winner. You have so much talent at USC. There's no reason that they're as bad as they are because they have a good coach and they have the Heisman Trophy winner.
Yes, UCLA's playing well. Arizona's playing well. Utah's still right there despite all the injuries that they've had. And you look at the position right now for Oregon State, I mean, you really can't. Here's the other thing. It's not just about the right now, and I know the Pac-2 future is absurd, but this is after they pushed out or graduated or left for the NFL, all of their secondary. Mm-hmm. They were able to show that they could replace that. They've got a 5-star quarterback transfer who chose them over other prestigious universities. Yeah. And they've got another quarterback in the waiting in Aiden Childs, who you're like, is this like the program savior kind of quarterback? Like the stuff that we've seen him do.
No, he's that dude.
That's what I'm saying. Like, he might be an NFL dude. And when was the last time that this program had all of the other stuff with not just like a NFL rostered guy, but a guy that scouts are looking at and projecting and going, we need to keep an eye on this guy for being a legitimate NFL quarterback.
If this is, Aiden Childs has all the makings to keep growing and developing.
To be a prolific quarterback.
Very, very good quarterback, great quarterback even at Oregon State. And this is why I say, I think this is the best the program has ever been as a program. This is the best Oregon State football has been because you look at it in the now, it is good. but the future from a talent standpoint feels really good, right? You're
not terrified about next year or what's to come.
Well, but yeah, you do. But and this is like the worst part, and this is what sucks for Oregon State the most, is that it's just been a long slog to pull out of the Gary Anderson tailspin. And look, the end of the Riley era was not the best either because of the fact that when Gary Anderson took over, it wasn't necessarily a full cupboard. It wasn't somebody that another coach could come in and win right away with.
Keep things going.
What Jonathan Smith has built is something that is sustainable, and this is what is terrible about it, is that it's like, all right, now you have this financial uncertainty to where I think that Washington State and Oregon State are going about it the best way that they can at this point. I do believe that, if you had the foresight in the planning, in the targeting of branding, kind of pushing your brand forward, you would have been more attractive than some of the other schools that found great landing spots to be in because of the health of the program and the sustainability that they could have. The worst part is that will the financials be kind of what knocks them down a little bit? But they have got a coach, they've got a staff, they've got a roster that it's not just trying to fill gaps as frantically as you possibly can. They're trying to do it in a means and in a way that they can have a sustainable contender. And look, we'll talk with Angie Machado at 1 o'clock. She's got some of the scoops on where Oregon State is heading in this with their schedule and what it may look like. But with the 12-team college football playoff, I don't think it's as doomy and gloomy if they can hold it together for the next couple of years to build a schedule that makes them a team that could be a college football playoff type team. They're already 11th, for goodness sakes.
The question that I have, and maybe we can talk about this here next or later, but have they done enough, not just this year, but over the last couple of years, with the branding, with who they are, with the wins they've had, with the perception of where this program is with Jonathan Smith and what they've kind of built, that it's not built on sand. The foundation is real, that it is kind of like a Utah Northwest in the sense of their foundation and kind of what they're trying to do.
They don't want to hear it, but Dan Lanning's quote, rooted in substance, right?
Yes. But
they are.
As shaky as everything is, the Pac-12 going away and just them and Washington State being left, have they done enough, or is there anything that they can do to find a landing spot? Because they continually, this is the question I think that we're going to keep going to until we know where they are.
Yep.
Is there a world that exists where Oregon State can, because of what they've done and how sustainable they've been, that they can find themselves landing in the Big 12?
You think? Maybe the next wave. Like I tweeted this, was it like 2 weeks ago? That if this Michigan sign stealing thing ends up with them leaving for the SEC, it would be the most brilliant thing ever. And it would be sweet justice. And I would love every second of it because I'm an agent of chaos. But if it ended up with the Beavs going to the Big Ten, it'd be hilarious.
Oh, God, it'd be absolutely priceless.
Your text, 503-864-6326, Vancouver Ford text on. Best Oregon State's been, and it's not close. The peak Erickson was 1 year. Smith has built this in a way that is sustainable prior to realignment. For multiple years, the structure is there to be consistently good, not just finish in the pan. Look, I wholeheartedly agree with that. I agree with that, and I think that it's an interesting time to take that 30,000-foot view and kind of look down at what the Oregon State program is, because you got to go back to how bad the doldrums were with Gary Anderson and what Jonathan Smith took over. It was not just an empty cupboard. It was an empty cupboard where the door was falling off the hinges and 2 of the shelves were broken. Like, it was empty, busted, and in a bad spot. And I think that the slow burn to get to this point was the Bob DeCarolus going, hey, we're going to pay off our debt. And then as a university, when the Pac-12 formed, and then we're going to do this the smart way. They built up the Valley Football Center. They finished the other side of Reser. They've got a stadium that is commensurate with the level of football that they're playing. You got a damn good head coach, and his assistant coaches are absolutely incredible. Oregon State's in the best place, the healthiest that the program has been ever.
The Beavs are in a great spot, and I hope that they can continue to claw through that. and find stable ground. We also have a bit of breaking news, and we can get to that with the Michigan Wolverines, the conclusion to the sign-stealing scandal.
All right, let's get to that after Rust with SportsCenter.
Now, from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk, a SportsCenter update on 1080 The Fan.
It is indoor golf season. Check out X Golf in Vancouver or Tualatin, the home of indoor golf, online at xgolfpnw.com. First on The Fan, Yahoo Sports' Ross Dellinger reporting Oregon State and Washington State are close to a 2-year football scheduling alliance with the Mountain West, with an intent for a future merger. The model would have Mountain West teams play 7 conference games plus 1 game against Oregon State or Washington State. But Angie Machado of BeaverBlitz.com reports Oregon State is looking at a 2024 schedule that includes 5 Power 4 teams, 6 Group of 5 opponents, and 1 FCS opponent. Angie Machado will join Danny and Dusty at 1 o'clock. Michigan and the Big Ten have resolved their litigation, and Jim Harbaugh has accepted the remaining 2 games of his suspension, so he is out Saturday at Maryland and next week hosting Ohio State. Cincinnati at Baltimore on Thursday Night Football starts Week 11 in the NFL. Bengals receiver T. Higgins out. Defensive end Trey Hendrickson will reportedly play despite being limited some in practice this week. Ravens cornerback Marlon Humphrey doubtful, and wide receiver Devin Duvernay is questionable. The Ravens are 3.5-point favorites, 5:15 kick on Prime Video. ESPN's Jeff Passan reporting MLB owners unanimously voted today to allow the A's to move from Oakland to Las Vegas. The team's lease at Oakland Coliseum expires in 2024, and they have yet to solidify plans for where the team will play until the Las Vegas Stadium is ready in 2028. And one more Major League Baseball note, Commissioner Rob Manfred announced Atlanta will host the 2025 All-Star Game. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Jeff Rust at the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk. Get in the game at Spirit Mountain Casino. Watch and wager with our sportsbook powered by BetMGM. Learn more at spiritmountain.com.
The original home of the Herd with Colin Cowherd. Weekdays 9 to noon, 1080 The Fan. Time is
from Ross Dellinger. This morning, the university, Coach Harbaugh, and the Big Ten resolved their pending litigation. The conference agreed to close its investigation, and university and Coach Harbaugh have agreed to accept the 3-game suspension. Coach Harbaugh, with the university's support, decided to accept the sanction to return the focus to our student athletes and their performance on the field. The conference has confirmed that it is not aware of any information suggesting Harbaugh's involvement in the allegations. The university continues to cooperate fully with the NCAA's investigation. So,
the coach is the face of the program. The coach will bear the burden of responsibility.
Let's go ahead and reset this here. Michigan said after a 3-game suspension was handed down as they were in flight to Penn State last weekend, which that is a little bit unfair to do to a guy,
especially with an investigation not being concluded.
But at the same time, this is not the court of law. This is a conference investigating one of its members, where every other member of the conference was going, you guys have got to do something about this. And you got to do it now. And Tony Petitti is not just Michigan's conference commissioner. He's the whole conference commissioner. And so he handed down this 3-game suspension. And what did Michigan fans do? What was this is so unfair. They don't even know we did anything wrong. So why would Jim Harbaugh in the University of Michigan want this investigation to stop?
Because they didn't want the lawyers to get involved, and then actually have actual courts get involved where you have discovery.
Yeah.
And what happens with discovery is then everything comes to light, not only within those courtrooms, but publicly.
And I'm going to read between the lines here, and I'm just going to go ahead and go out on a limb and say, I bet you the one thing that Michigan has in their hip pocket that we have not been able to prove yet. Connor Stalions. How did he fund this whole racket where he's buying some of the best tickets to some of the biggest games and flying people all over the country and doing all this when he's getting paid $55,000 a year? His vacuum repair company wasn't doing it for him.
Did you guys talk about the link between him and Blake Corum when I was out?
No.
Did you see that?
Yeah, about how he was
there's an LLC that is signed for, and Blake Corum, the Michigan running back, one of the best running backs in the country, somehow, some way, he's saying that I have no idea. The lawyers are taking a look at this, but there's an LLC that Connor Stalions and Blake Corum are both signed onto, which you have to have a legal signatory.
Yep.
Connor Stalions can't go out there and just say Blake Corum is a part of this LLC. So somebody's lying.
Yeah, but you can also just pin it on Connor Stalions is kind of the weirdo, and did he just throw his name into something that the kid had no idea? Corum is saying that's what happened. I don't know, but
let's not act like Jim Harbaugh is Mr. Normal.
What I can go ahead and, as I'm reading between the lines here, is that these lawyers are going, guys, right now, the Big Ten and the NCAA, they don't have subpoena power. They don't have any power to look into how any of this was funded. All they know is that this was sign stealing. If this can go away and you just accept this 3-game suspension, NCAA is going to try and hit you again next year, right? But if you have already served a 3-game suspension at the beginning of this year for something that was completely unrelated to this, and you are now serving this 3-game suspension for this infraction, maybe the dogs are going to be called off, at least by the Big Ten. Look, this isn't any sort of vindication by any means for Michigan. Jim Harbaugh is going to serve that 3-game suspension. They're not going to have him this week. Who do they play this week? Don't they play Maryland or something?
I think it is
Maryland. Yes.
Yeah, Maryland, and then obviously he'll miss.
And then he'll miss the Ohio State game,
which is what the non-Michigan members want this. They want Michigan to fall in their face. Do not get it twisted. There is a grudge.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see what the mental gymnastics look like for the Michigan fans now. How do you go about this when you were
go the other way.
When you were when Jim Harbaugh is yeah, I'm going to go to that meeting. I'm going to speak on Friday. And they're like, hell yeah, this thing's going to get thrown out. And then the lawyers were like, hey guys, we really do not want this to go to actual court. Going to actual court is very bad for us. It would be very, 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 very bad because it may not even uncover. And look, I operate with this kind of under this premise. There is a level of NCAA infractions at every football program in the country.
It's like holding. If you look for it, you'll find it.
Yeah. And is it all nefarious? And is it all the worst thing in the world?
No.
No. But you don't want people poking around who are sticklers in that only read in black and white.
No, you don't.
You want the
NFL,
people that paint in gray, and you want a lot of color in your photos.
Yeah, you don't want the NFL jersey guy. The guy comes out to make sure you're good to go, because that's just it's not going to go well for you.
Yeah.
But in keeping with my nature and my pettiness, Michigan, I mean, they are ridiculous in all this, but I am really, really, really excited to see what happens if they go out there without Harbaugh and beat Ohio State. Because Ryan Day and Ohio State have been kind of at the forefront of this. Like, how dare they? That's the reason they were been able to get up on it. It's like, I love watching someone obnoxious getting knocked down, and then the obnoxious person who was the person who knocked them down also getting knocked down. Like, ha! Didn't see that one coming.
You like all the knockout blows.
Yes, no, I love this when it just like, the backstabbing leads to backstabbing leads to backstabbing. And I'm just very interested to see where this goes. There's also another element to this financially, that getting this all resolved, what does it allow Michigan to do? It allows Michigan to get Jim Harbaugh's contract done.
Yeah, and they can hold on to him.
Yes. And that's what it sounds like. For all of the he's running to the NFL stuff, it very much sounds like they're going to get a very long, very well-paid deal for Jim Harbaugh done relatively soon.
What this means, the Big Ten is ending its investigation. Remember, this is not an NCAA suspension for Jim Harbaugh.
I hope to God that Michigan, when it comes down to it, says, look, we don't recognize your authority. We dealt with the Big Ten. We put our suspension in. Go away.
He may get time served, but let's look at Michigan's future schedule here.
Don't they have Oregon very early?
No, I'm just looking at like their non-conference, because that's where the rubber's going to meet the road here. In 2024, they have Fresno State. They got Texas week 2, and then Arkansas State. That's what.
So what? They're going to make him serve one game against Arkansas State, and they're going to let him.
No, I probably suspend him for Fresno State. But that's like you accept this, and then you hope that that's the worst of it, that the NCAA hold hands down. You either get, your time served for the 3 this year, and you get 1 next year, or you say the 3 games this year are good enough, and you walk away. I do not buy one bit the BS of this being about, we want to return the focus on the student athletes in this season.
Ah, yes.
No.
The student athletes.
You are just going to say, you got us. We know you got us. You didn't get Jim Harbaugh implicated in any of this, and now you won't be able to implicate Jim Harbaugh in any of this.
They made sure that Jim Harbaugh was not named in this.
But what you can do is say, yeah, we had one rogue coach, and our head coach is going to be punished for that rogue coach because he's supposed to oversee the entire program.
Yes.
And that's going to be the talking point moving out. Jim Harbaugh is going to be the martyr. He fell on the sword for Connor Stallions and everybody else, and he's hoping this goes away from the Big Ten. I wonder, like, behind closed doors, if what this means as far as, like, what information the Big Ten had, because that was the other thing Michigan fans were like, they've shown no proof. Michigan doesn't take this if they didn't have any proof.
Yeah.
Michigan does not take this suspension unless they had proof.
I tell you what, though, I still am surprised because, I obviously haven't been in here. The Penn State game, I thought they were going to get Harbaugh on the field. I genuinely thought they were going to get Harbaugh on the field. I mean, when they got the luck of the draw lawyer was not only a Michigan alum.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, the judge. The luck of the draw judge was not only a Michigan alum, he was a Michigan faculty member.
Yeah. Oh, wow, how'd that happen? It's so crazy.
Interesting, though, that he put a stay on it, but because it was past business hours, it didn't matter. And I'm like,
on a holiday.
I'm like, well, if it was a holiday to begin with, how did the injunction come in the first place?
Didn't mean anything.
So
gosh, dang it.
It's all made up as far as we go.
All right. So there's the latest on that. Now, as Michigan says, we can return the focus to the student athletes. And I just want to know where Jim Harbaugh's watching games. Like, if Michigan does one thing, make it a pay-per-view where it's like like what was the pregnant giraffe where the people were watching like the live cam of the pregnant giraffe. Give me just one, like we have on our YouTube stream, we have the one camera up there that it sees the entirety of the room.
Yeah.
I just want a room of Jim Harbaugh pacing back and forth watching the television, because then for Michigan, you could say, hey, now you know everything's on the up and up. He's not out here, calling in signals.
You can watch his signals.
Yeah, he just watching him pace back and forth. And I believe it when Jim Harbaugh said he stood in front of the TV 5 inches when Sharon Moore was giving his post-game speech. I believe that. I believe Harbaugh is like, that is who he is. There's no way he's sitting in a chair. Just giving him an empty room with just a folding chair in a flat screen TV, and then maybe like a rage corner where if something bad happens, he can just start breaking stuff, because that's what I would pay-per-view that. I would pay-per-view my $9.99. You could grab my $9.99 in an instant. And I know that every single one of those psychos from Michigan, all those big Blue fans, go Blue fans, they're definitely going to do it. Everybody would be watching it there. They'd have like millions of streams of just Harbaugh walking around in his khakis, because I guarantee you he's wearing his khakis. He's dressed like he's going to coach the game.
Is he drinking? 100%. Is he drinking milk from the carton?
Yep. Yeah. And you treat it like prison, where they just like a meal gets slid in. It just gets slid in there every now and then. I would watch it.
I'm in.
I'm not kidding. I would watch it.
Dry bologna sandwich.
Yeah.
It's right up Harbaugh's alley.
Oh, I guarantee you, he's eating more dry sandwiches than anyone on this planet.
Blake Corum fumbles and he just throws bologna against the screen and it just sticks there and slowly slides down as he's just sitting with his arms folded.
Is Harbaugh the kind of guy that like like a sophisticated sandwich for him is like grilling the bologna?
Yeah,
or just adding mayonnaise to it. I could just see him too with one of those guys that just has the mayonnaise like oozing out the sides.
Oh God.
Yeah.
It's either dry. There's no in between.
I need this. I need all of this. Need it. Michigan, make it happen.
Brooke Olsendam was about to catch a mayonnaise stray, but no, I won't do it to her.
I feel like that was inappropriate, but I do know, for those that don't know, Brooke Olsendam loves mayonnaise, Trailblazers sideline reporter. So that was appropriate.
Yes.
That was not an inappropriate thing that you just said. I feel like we need to break now.
I'm fighting it for sure.
So you're not the guy who just like grins and bears. You just you'll let us all know how you're doing. You just be honest throughout it. You'd be like, no, I'm fighting it. No, I'm fighting it.
No, I'm. There's certain levels to it. Like if it's like something, little, it's like whatever, it's nothing.
Yeah,
but when I'm fighting it.
That's where you and I are different. I'm always like, I'm fine.
No, I used to be that.
I'm fine.
But when it piled up after so long, it like mentally broke me.
Yeah, I
of
see
just
that.
saying I'm fine all the time when I wasn't.
Yeah,
because people used to look at me like, "Dude, you're not fine."
Yeah, you're not fine.
Like
Stop.
I can see it on your face, like you're not fine.
Well, we're holding it together here. All right, we got through Jim Harbaugh's breaking news. We talked some Oregon State, the health of the program, and where it is right now. If you missed any of our content, our number one, go check it out. We got the Service Patriots podcast, where you can get all of our shows in all of our segments at the 1080thefan.com or right there in the Odyssey app. Service Patriots is your home comfort solution for all your heating and air conditioning needs. Check out the latest special offers for our listeners at servicepatriots.com/thefan. All right.
I apologize to Brooke.
There's nothing to apologize
in case she was
for.
listening, I was like, look, you caught it straight. It wasn't intentional.
But we will revisit the Beavers to start our number two because scheduling is now the big question mark that Oregon State fans have on their mind. Now that there was the injunction, the stay on the injunction was granted by a judge in Whitman County Court the other day. The Beavs can move forward and the Cougs can move forward with how they schedule. Somebody with the scoops on it is Angie Machado from BeaverBlitz.com. She joins us next. This is Danny Dusty on the Fan. Washington Huskies. You know what I love about this game? This matchup, like we just have close matchups sometimes with schools. We've talked about this throughout the course of the year. We're starting to get that with these two schools. Last two times, both UW and Oregon State have played. We had, what was it? Last year, you had the 10 unanswered in the fourth quarter in that 24-21 win over that the Huskies got over the Beavs. The year before that, we had it was like I wouldn't call it a shootout, but it was the back and forth game, right? Where walk-off field goal in Corvallis, where the Beavs won in 2021. And now we have 2023 where you've got so much on the line for both the Beavs and the Huskies in this. For the Huskies, it's college football playoff hopes staying alive. For the Beavs, they got to win 2 of their final 3 games in order to have back-to-back 10-win seasons for the first time in school history. Like, this matchup is awesome. It has everything that you can want. You want high stakes at the end of the season? It doesn't get much more high stakes than what Oregon State is facing on the field. It's also pretty high stakes off the field. And so now we bring on our good friend from BeaverBlitz.com. She is the owner, and she does a hell of a good job covering this team. Does it better than anybody else. It's Angie Machado. Angie, how you doing?
I'm good. It's a busy day today.
It's a really busy day. There's everything. Like it's crazy that with a matchup that has this magnitude to it, that we're talking about what's the schedule in 2024 going to look like for Oregon State. But there's some big news coming out. We saw from Ross Dellinger that there's Oregon State and Washington State, after the judge's ruling in Whitman County Court, that they are going to be moving forward now and trying to figure out their hybrid schedule. But you may have the Lee Corso not so fast, my friend, here with what the national pundits are saying about what the Beavs and the Cougs may be doing. What are you hearing from the Oregon State side of things?
Yeah, it's this huge narrative right now, and I think it's all being led from Gloria Alvarez in the Mountain West Conference, which is great, right? I mean, she doesn't want to see her conference picked apart. I get it. I mean, but this would be, I mean, if this happens, this would be Oregon State and Washington State's like way down the list plan. So will Oregon State and Washington State be playing some Mountain West schools? Absolutely. But what I'm hearing is more of an independent type schedule for 2 years. What I'm hearing is, roughly 5 Power 4 teams, 6 Mountain West teams, and then 1 FCS, which Oregon State already has Idaho State on the schedule for 2024. So that is what I'm hearing is kind of plan A, and wanting to kind of stick more independent, because the Mountain West, if that's the case, now I'm still trying to confirm if this is still on the table, but originally the Mountain West wanted, in exchange for a scheduling alliance, they wanted it that in 2 years, the Pac-2 would have to absorb the entire membership of the Mountain West. That makes no sense. Mm-hmm. That is something Oregon State and Washington State cannot do. And quite frankly, I don't like the idea of announcing a scheduling alliance because it just puts out the narrative that Oregon State and Washington State are Mountain West schools. So, I know this is a narrative being pushed. Are we going to see Mountain West teams on the schedule? Absolutely. But, recruits are being told it's going to be more of an independent type schedule. And they're excited about that. I've heard some potential big names. There's lots of programs out there with open dates. So I do think maybe the national media is getting a little ahead of its skis here.
Angie, when you take a look at that, though, some of those big names, how much of this, as we get closer and closer to the obviously the 12-team playoff and what will probably end up being super conferences, when you look at how scheduling is going to look for the next 2 years, how many of those big schools are going to want to play in Oregon State? Because they're looking, it's kind of a double-edged sword. Is Oregon State's probably too good of a school to you want to bolster your resume, you want to make it look good, but you don't want to pick up an early season or a mid-season loss against a Jonathan Smith program that's been getting better and better and better every single year. Yeah.
I mean, it is a double-edged sword, but quite frankly, if Oregon State and Washington State announce they are going Mountain West, there's not going to be players or Jonathan Smith or other coaches on the staff to be there. I mean, it would be a death blow. So, and I'm not trying to be doom and gloom here. But what I see happening is Oregon State goes independent, Washington State, the 2 go independent for 2 years, cobble together a decent schedule. I see this all blowing up again in 2 years when the ACC, I mean, we already know that Big Ten and SEC are going to be coming after guys So, and then in 2 years, the Mountain West TV deal is done. So there's not the big buyout. Oregon State doesn't want the entire Mountain West.
Yeah.
Would they like to have a San Diego State, a Fresno State, Boise State, possibly like a UNLV?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that makes sense. And then possibly Cal and Stanford might want to come crying back. Or, there's a lot of, and more teams even, that'll be opened up. So 2 years kind of gives you that, if they can cobble it together, it gives you kind of the plan in place to make some big moves and really put together a good competitive West Coast power type conference. If they decide to do a reverse, the way I see an alliance, if it is like the way that the Mountain West was trying to sell it, because they don't want to see their teams picked apart.
No.
That it doesn't make sense for Oregon State and Washington State, especially right now with the momentum they have coming off the win in Washington court.
Angie Machado, beaverblitz.com, is our guest. We were talking about this earlier in the show, and I want to get your thoughts on this because it's a weird time to do it. But if you take that 30,000-foot view of where Oregon State's football program is, I think that this time is so pivotal not to jump to any conclusions like you're saying one way or the other. Had this discussion. I believe Oregon State's football program is in the healthiest spot it has ever been. We've seen great runs by Oregon State, but is this the healthiest that the program top to bottom has been? Absolutely.
And for all those people that were worried when all this fell apart back in August about how it would affect recruiting, it hasn't. I'm not going to say that Oregon State's not going to lose a player or two or a coach or two. But, when you step back and actually look, these players are being told they're going to be playing in a competitive conference, not going down to the Mountain West.
Mm-hmm.
They know that they can be developed at Oregon State. And it's actually helped. Oregon State picked up a commitment from the top Oregon 2025 player, Baron Naone from West Linn. Washington was all over him. And one of the big reasons he chose Oregon State was, aside from the coaching, was the fact that his family could see him play and not have to travel across the country every other week. So, I think that's going to come into play too. A lot of these sports, a lot of these programs, and a lot of schools jump ship quickly trying to save themselves, but the ramifications are going to be reverberating as far as travel and fan engagement and so many other aspects when you're traveling to State College, Pennsylvania, or Rutgers, or there's a lot of deals there that maybe aren't ideal if you're a volleyball player or a baseball player.
Well, going from across the country and fan perspectives to very local, the Beavs have a monumental matchup against Washington coming up, where they have the opportunity to not only play spoiler, but to throw themselves smack dab in the middle of a Pac-12 race. Or Pac-10 race down the stretch, Pac-2, whatever you want to call it. There's too many names now. They have a Pacific Coast Conference race. If they can play spoiler in 2 out of 3 weeks, and they have a real opportunity. Washington's coming in as a 1.5 point favorite, so they're a 1.5 point favorite on a neutral site. And Oregon State is.
Well, hey, when did you check that? Because I looked today on CBS, and Oregon State is a 2.5 point favorite.
Hey.
Oh, I'm looking at. You know what? You're right. I looked at the open. I have not looked at the live line.
Yeah, the open. Yeah, opening Washington was. It's changed about 4 points. So since it opened,
it kind of shows you where the public is sitting, at least right now. That Washington team is certainly explosive offensively, and this Oregon State team is missing what kind of defined last year's team in the secondary that you would think is like, oh, this is this clinical matchup. How does this Oregon State team go in and dictate to Washington and throw their hat in the ring and not only be disruptive just for being disruptive sake, but legitimately throw themselves into a Pac-12 fight?
Yeah, I think this is actually a really good matchup for Oregon State. I think being at home is huge. This may be the craziest we've seen Reser Stadium. I look back to the USC game last year, and that was half a stadium that was pretty rowdy, but this game is going to be nuts. So I think that helps. I think the weather is going to play a huge part of that, because Oregon State's run game is I see Oregon State's run game being a lot better than Washington's run game. So, you mentioned Oregon State secondary. I think they are improved. When we talked in August, so that was kind of the question mark, but I think they've kind of stepped up, shown that they are actually maybe not a step behind as we thought going in. And then I love the way Oregon State's pass rush has actually developed over the past few weeks. Andrew Chatfield is bringing pressure. Calvin Hart, Easton Mascarenas. These guys, you pressure Michael Penix. I mean, Washington's shown they are not winning games by a lot of points. They are right on the verge of not being there. So a great team, and Oregon State's going to have to bring their effort. But I think, if the weather becomes a factor, if noise is a factor, I like Oregon State's chances to stop the run and pressure Penix, maybe making a bad decision.
Love it. This game is everything. And, these two teams, they played two really tight games the last couple of years as well. And, I mean, that makes it a little bit more fun when you have two teams that they've matched up really well. The styles make fights, and they have had some great knockout, drag-out fights that have gone the distance over the last 2 weeks. And this one, it has high stakes for both of these teams. What would it mean for Jonathan Smith to have the first back-to-back 10-win seasons in program history?
Oh, it's huge. I think he's not really even thinking about that maybe right now, but like you said, it's just a huge accomplishment. And top to bottom, when was the last time we've seen Oregon State with this strong of a program? Yeah. So it's huge. And like I said, going into Washington, his old employer, he spent a lot of time at being the offensive coordinator with Washington. So there's definitely some friendly lines there. But I think about last year. It was a 3-point loss. It was contested. If you remember, Oregon State made a comeback, scored a touchdown, and then the power went out. It was like a 15-minute delay before they got the power back on. It was or the lights went out. It wasn't even the power. The lights went out. So there's been some big games. I think back to 2007 at Reser, Evanson Bernard was, over the line for a touchdown. Referees said he wasn't. If you remember, I don't know if you guys were around, but the amount of boos that came, I imagine the atmosphere at Reser to be close to that level. It'll be nuts.
I hope it is, because this is the atmosphere. This is the game. It was amazing. That Utah game, you felt that buzz and you felt that energy. And then it was like, wait, they're mopping the floor with them. This isn't fun anymore. Yeah. I hope that you get that for the whole 3.5 hours, because it has the billing to go the distance in that way, and that would just be a raucous environment. One last thing before we let you go, Angie, and this is a question that all we've talked about is scheduling for football. What about the other sports, and where's the best landing spot in your mind for everything else?
Yeah, no, I do think that they are we will see some type of a scheduling alliance, whether that be with the West Coast Conference for baseball potentially. I've heard even, Big 12 for wrestling. I mean, I think we're going to see kind of a piecemeal scheduling kind of agreements with some these other conferences, for gymnastics, wrestling, volleyball. But football is kind of your big one. But I think just as far as ease of travel and get these guys, baseball, there's some good baseball played on the West Coast Conference, and across the, smaller schools that are still making it to Omaha. So, in fact, I was laughing because I was like, wait, who in the Big Ten even plays baseball?
Exactly.
I mean, honestly. So, no, so it's an interesting, dynamic. That is kind of the direction I've been hearing that we'll see. But obviously everyone's waiting for football. And, my hope is in the next 2 weeks, there's something, because Oregon State needs to have something out there solid before that transfer portal opens and signing day happens in a month.
Angie Machado, BeaverBlitz.com. You can find her. She'll be at Reser come Saturday when Washington, and the 5th-ranked team in the country, rolls in to take on the number 11 Oregon State Beavers. Have a great one. We appreciate you taking the time for us today.
Hey, thanks, guys.
There she is, Angie Machado, BeaverBlitz.com. Look, in Ross Dellinger, when Ross Dellinger says something, right, everybody says, hey, he's the reporter of note for college football. Yes. Scheduling alliance is a bridge too far for what we should call what Oregon State and Washington State are going to do football-wise. Every other sport, they absolutely need an alliance, because you need to have that. It's more independence with picking up some of those Mountain West programs as well.
And there's definitely the Oregon State and Washington State are both being careful with that wording, because they know, and Angie's spot on, if they get lumped into that, it's the end. Mm-hmm. And they know that. And that's the part of this process is, we talked about a little bit earlier, like the branding and the ability to present themselves in a way that if something changes, they keep progressing. Does that door open back up to the Big 12?
Yep. I'm looking here. I'm counting up 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. There's 11 games on Notre Dame's schedule right now. They can play 12. Open date, first week in October.
There you go.
That'd be fun. All right. let's great stuff from Angie. Appreciate it. And I think it's good to get that insight and that little bit of substance to what is being reported out there right now. 503-864-6326. That is the Vancouver Ford text line. One more thing in college football. I want to get to Blazers. We'll get to, I want a big chunk of Blazers in the 2 o'clock hour. But coming up next, the NCAA continues to not do right by student athletes. Next on The Fan. but a hybrid Mountain West schedule that they could be playing, and a big one coming up this weekend in Reser. Can't wait for that game. That's going to be awesome. The NCAA, they want you to know that they're about the student athlete, right? What they do for the student athlete. Well, we're going to go and pee in their Cheerios because the NCAA rejected today the postseason waiver that Jacksonville State and James Madison, along with Tarleton State, had requested. They are not bowl eligible or postseason eligible because there is a very antiquated and stupid rule that says you are in a probationary period for the first 2 years of becoming an FBS program, and that excludes you from postseason play. If anybody's been following along with what James Madison has done from FCS power to now jumping up to the FBS level, the Dukes are 10-0, outscoring their opponents 343 to 182, and sit atop the Sun Belt Conference. They are not bowl eligible this year, and the NCAA declined their waiver. They weren't bowl eligible last year, despite the fact that their merits had said they should have been a bowl team. The NCAA is just saying, no, these are the rules and this is what we're doing. This rule was put into place because back in the day, they were afraid that a school would say, we've got a 1-year run. We've got a 2-year run where we're going to be really good and we're going to move up to the we're going to move up to the higher level, and then we're going to jump back down right when we're not good enough again.
Yeah.
This is not doing right by the student athletes. No. You now have 2 senior classes at James Madison that should have been going to a bowl game that do not have the opportunity to go and play in a bowl game because you just say no, because you're new.
Because a bunch of blue hairs who had their head up their butt decided, this is the NCAA in a nutshell. It's not only this.
By the way, Rich Rodriguez coached Jacksonville State,
which is insane.
They are 7-3, bowl eligible.
Including also former Michigan head coaches. Brady Hoke is now retiring.
Yeah, forced retirement. We talked about that.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
So Michigan, everywhere. Michigan coaches in the news.
Yeah.
Did you see how many NCAA basketball waivers were denied?
No.
Oh, buddy.
Well, James
transfers.
Really?
The NCAA. Look, man. It's no secret when it comes to me. I hate the NCAA. It does not need to exist as it currently does. The people who run it are stubborn, stuck in their ways. And you can say, oh, they're a rules institution. That's what they should kind of be. No. That's why we have judges that exist. If we did everything by the law, by the book, everywhere, we wouldn't be a functioning society. You have to have a general understanding of intent of law. And that's why we have precedent, and that's why we change things. That's why we allow things to progress forward, is because you don't have to be this asinine, this stupid, this ridiculous over and over and over again.
I just don't know. The NCAA has not given any reason why. Why is this rule intact? What good does this rule do? I would like to know that, because if what they're trying to do is stop teams from jumping up temporarily and then going back down, then why don't you punish them when they go back down?
Yes.
Right? Why are they punishing them at all? Because if you are able to compete at that highest level, why not allow them to do it? And the NCAA has never given a reason. They have not. Because there is no good reason. And this is where I go back to, for an institution that says that they are for the good of the student athlete and promoting sports and student athletes, what are they doing to actually do that? Like, think back to Tez Walker, the North Carolina receiver. Are they doing right by student athletes by denying him his waiver?
No.
And then doubling down on it and then tripling down on it and then reversing course because of information that had come to light, because public backlash was so strong that they said, okay, we kind of have to. That's what I'm that's not about. Doing right by student athletes. And this is where you need to go.
When was the last time they did?
Everything they do by their party planning committee that they do, which is putting on all of these events. I mean, that is the end. College sports wouldn't exist without them as we know them. And That's true.
When was the last time they did right by the student athlete when a case was presented to them?
That is a good question. That's a very good question. And I'm sure there are a lot of them where they do approve the waiver. They do. We just hear about the ones that they don't, right?
They're because they're piling up.
But I know, but you hear about the ones that they don't, but we rarely do hear about the ones that are good. But then again, what are they going to the board for if they're trying to do, hey, we want to do this great thing. Let's go. Like, there was a thing that Bo Nix, right, in NIL. He has this new deal with 7-Eleven, like the Cleats Crew program, where they donate, I don't know, like money and cleats to the Children's Miracle Network in the hospital in Eugene. But after the campaign ended, he's continuing to donate his NIL money to the Children's Miracle Network.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's doing really good in the community. We don't hear about things like that, right? We just hear about the awful things that NIL will do to college sports and how it's going to absolutely
ruin the sport,
ruin
blah,
the game,
blah,
right?
Yeah.
We don't hear about the good things because the good things, they get lost in the wash, right? Those are all just like cast aside. So I'm sure the NCAA does do some things that are good. We just don't hear about them. But what we do hear is the things that every single person looks at each other and go,
Why do you exist?
Why
do you exist?
Why say no? Why do this just to drag somebody else down? There's no point in that.
And that's the thing.
And there's a lot of things like that.
And they do that endlessly. That is the issue.
What is amazing to me, though, is that they keep doing it.
Yes.
Like, and there's nobody in the room is going, guys,
maybe we should change this. Maybe we should change how we operate.
And why would it be like a full sail change in lifting this probationary period? Because again, like this texter points out, James Madison also beat Michigan State in basketball.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they are probably going to be in the driver's seat to win the Sun Belt in basketball as well. And they won't be able to go to the NCAA tournament. I don't know.
Well, now it sounds like there's going to be lawyers involved.
Well, there should be lawyers involved. There should be.
The Virginia Attorney General, Jason
Momoa.
Close.
No.
Jason Myers, but it's spelled very differently, sent a demand letter to the NCAA threatening legal action if James Madison was not granted full bowl eligibility waiver. So it looks like that since they have denied it now, the lawsuit has not been filed, but the letter from Hunton Andrews Kurth, this is from the Athletic.
Dude, that is the most lawyer name ever. Say that again.
Hunton, Hunton, Andrews Kurth, LLP.
Okay.
States the Attorney General engaged the firm to represent JMU and claims the lawsuit would show denying full bowl eligibility to the Dukes violates antitrust laws.
See, there we go. Do right by student athletes.
Lawyers
please.
will be involved.
All right. There we have it.
All right, coming up next, something you would think the NCAA did, but it's actually not the NCAA, but it's postseason college stupidity. We'll get to that and more, but first, here's Russ with the Sports Center Update.
Now, from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
If you've been arrested for DUI, you need a team of attorneys that you can put your trust into. Call Reynolds Defense Firm today, online at reynoldsdefensefirm.com. First on The Fan, Yahoo Sports' Ross Dellinger reporting Oregon State and Washington State close to a 2-year football scheduling alliance with the Mountain West with an intent for a future merger. The model would have Mountain West teams play 7 conference games plus 1 game against Oregon State or Washington State. But Angie Machado of BeaverBlitz.com reports Oregon State looking at a 2024 schedule that includes 5 Power 4 teams, 6 Group of 5 opponents, and 1 FCS opponent. Michigan and Jim Harbaugh have withdrawn their complaint against the Big Ten and have accepted the remaining 2 games of Harbaugh's suspension. So he's out Saturday at Maryland and next week hosting Ohio State. In the school statement, they note they are still cooperating with the NCAA investigation. In the NFL, Cincinnati at Baltimore on Thursday Night Football starts at Week 11. The Ravens are 3.5-point favorites, 5:15 kick on Prime Video. Bleacher Report's Jordan Schultz reporting Dolphins running back Devon Achane will return Sunday against the Raiders, barring any setbacks with his knee injury. And ESPN's Jeff Passan reporting Major League Baseball owners unanimously voted today to allow the A's to move from Oakland to Las Vegas. The team's lease at Oakland Coliseum expires in 2024, and they have yet to solidify plans for where they will play until the Las Vegas Stadium is ready in 2028. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Jeff Rust at the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk. Get in the game at Spirit Mountain Casino. Watch and wager with our sportsbook powered by BetMGM. Learn more at spiritmountain.com.
Your favorite fan shows are on YouTube. Mash the subscribe button and like us for live streaming video and 1080 The Fan on demand. The Fan.
Well, that sucks.
Well, I'm coming off the bench, a little sore. So, the tease, I had it a little wrong. I thought it was the conference that suspended the coach. In fact, it is the NCAA doing something else also violently dumb.
Yeah, we talked about this story last year when it happened. And
because we're like, come on.
It was ridiculous at the time. And it's even more ridiculous now that they're enforcing it. But dumb gonna dumb.
The dumb is gonna dumb. Ferris State coach Tony Annese has
D2
has been suspended for what we talked about with his actions last year. Not even his actions, his players' actions, and what should be totally normal. So, for those that are unaware, McKinney, Texas, is a national powerhouse high school football program. They have a field that is better than most college facilities.
Well, it like down. So D3 plays the Stag Bowl. I think that they might be at McKinney now too, but they were at they used to play down in Texas as well, in these high school stadiums that are insane. Yes. Like Football Scoop just released did a big thing on high school coaches' salaries in the greater Houston area, and like the average high school head coach in the Houston area gets paid $135,000 a year. To just coach football,
not even to be like a teacher who coaches, but like a coach.
No, and I've talked to some coaches that are down there, and it's basically like one of the unwritten rules is that if you have a coach that gets fired, you leave your teaching position if you're an assistant. So like you're tied with your head coach wherever he goes, you go. Type deal.
So even if you're a
so you got to be like
school,
ride or die. Yeah, because the next head coach who comes in, and he brings his own staff in, they need those teaching positions for those guys too, because they're not paying $135,000 a year like he is.
Good God.
Yeah, it's wild down there. It's a different world, but they have really nice stadiums that the NCAA says, hey, can we use these?
Can we use these? And so, but you have to remember, it's a high school facility.
Yeah.
So Ferris State wins the title last year, and they light cigars in the locker room.
Yeah, because everybody is over 18.
Yes, and you do what you do when you're a college kid after you watch Joe Burrow light that cigar at LSU, looking like an absolute G, and you throw it up on the gram, you throw it up on TikTok because that's what you do because you're a kid and you're living it up.
And it was back-to-back national titles they won.
And so you're feeling yourself. Like you should. You're a kid. That's what this is all about, having fun. Well, there is a strict anti-tobacco policy because it is a high school facility, which get the bleep out of here.
Yeah, you can't tell me that you don't have some of those $135,000 head coaches dipping on the field, in the locker room, all over the place there.
Every one of them.
Yeah.
Every single
But they're not smoking cigars.
But there's also that they ordered that Ferris State had to pay a $2,500 fine. And a $15,400 cleaning and repair fee.
Now, cigars stink, man.
Yeah, they do. They do stink. Now, remember the cleaning and repair. That was also because the players were pulling down the NCAA signage and taking it home with them too. Remember that was part of this whole deal. So that was part of the repair fees that they kind of
ripped stuff off the wall too,
which I get.
Yeah, that part of it fine.
But what is insane is that the head coach,
we haven't even got to this part yet, he got suspended
at Ferris State, was suspended by the NCAA, but it wasn't for a game, just any game. He was suspended for the first playoff game this season,
which is absolutely bonkers because, again, the NCAA had his head up its rear end.
That is ridiculous.
What are we doing? What student athlete purpose is being served here?
See, now this is the part where I will agree with you. I think suspending him for the first playoff game is ridiculous. They should have done it for their first game.
First game of the season, yeah.
Right? Yeah, that's it. And as far as the cigar thing goes, it's not a big deal, but look,
follow the rules of the
district.
You've
got rules, yeah. It's not only the district, but how many states can you, are you barred from smoking inside anywhere?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I get the celebration. It's college kids, though.
Yeah.
They're going to college kid.
Yeah.
And like if it was something where, and I think that they were warned to stop one time and they didn't. And I think that's why they came down so heavy-handed on him.
Oh, no way. College kids didn't listen.
At the same time, it's like, who thought you're going to get suspended for the next playoff game the next year? Now they have to go to Grand Valley State.
That's the part that seems like it's severe overreach.
Because the smaller classifications, so Division III, Division II, they regionalize your playoff games so travel isn't as expensive, right? Grand Valley State is a national power. Grand Valley State is where Brian Kelly was when Brian Kelly started his run as a head coach, right? Brian Kelly went from Grand Valley State to Central Michigan and then to Cincinnati and then parlayed that into Notre Dame and in now LSU. Like, it has been a national power for years. So this isn't just like, hey, this is a two-time defending national champ that gets, to play a team that has no tradition and got in by the hair of their chinny chin chin. No, it's a national power playing a national power in their first playoff game.
And that's there's no purpose being served here other than the NCAA being ridiculous.
Yeah.
And here's a challenge to the NCAA. Don't. Whatever your nature is, don't.
I love how much you hate them.
I hate them with a fiery passion of 1,000 suns because their function, they go away from it. They say they want to do X, Y, and Z, and they do A, B, and C. It's just
not be serious.
They are.
And that's the thing is like their natural inclination, whatever it is always the wrong thing.
No cap.
And I can't wrap my head around that. But we do have in Worst Day on the Web News, this isn't the biggest smoking update.
Oh, whoa!
No, quite literally, smoking is on the agenda.
Oh, okay. What do we got here?
Did you know, as of this morning, Snoop D-O double G?
Yeah.
After much consideration and conversation with my family, I've decided to give up smoke. Please respect my privacy at this time.
Wow.
Is that what it means when they say they don't want that smoke?
Mm-hmm.
Strictly edibles now for Snoop?
I am almost certain that this is coinciding with the launch of Snoop Dogg dog treats.
Yeah.
Edibles.
Oh,
Hey,
absolutely.
Cheech and Chong need a main competitor.
Look, man,
construction,
Snoop's he's going to send me some better ads, that's for sure. He'll be LIVIN. But tell you what, that has got to be a massive hit to the marijuana sales cohorts in California.
I would
It'd be
think
a
so.
lot cooler if you did.
I think it is. That is actually huge news.
I mean, that's like you can actually like the per capita amount of weed just dropped like 7%.
Oh!
That man smokes pounds.
See, the gummy thing now makes sense because otherwise, why would he have made like an entire graphic to announce that he's giving up smoke?
I mean,
Well, because
It's religion, man.
You're
that's
not wrong.
why. That's why when you're talking Snoop, it is his religion,
but yeah, that's our
Carnage in the streets.
that's our update in smokes. Well,
Perfect.
one guy that apparently doesn't want the smoke, Miles Bridges, has thoughts and opinions on what people think and say about him and how he can fix his image after being, well, a completely trash human being. We'll get to that and more coming up on Danny and Dusty, 1080 The Fan. to shut up and drink.
He's a horrible human being,
Who
and
beat the living crap out of his girlfriend in front of his newborn child.
Yep, he's a horrible human being, and I don't know how or why, but he's getting a third chance with the Charlotte Hornets.
Yes.
Because I don't know. The third chance is because he beat the hell out of her one time, and then remember, just like a month ago, he threw pool balls.
Yes, pool balls at her car with the kid in the car.
Yeah, as she was leaving his house.
Yeah.
And the Hornets were like, you know what? I think we're gonna bring him back.
Yeah, and Steve Clifford had a terrible quote over the weekend talking about how when asked how tough it was going to be to integrate him after his off the court issues, and he didn't address them at all, and basically said, "Well, we need points and rebounds."
That's awful.
Yeah,
but
of all the paths that he could have taken, he decided to take the dumbest.
One thing that we do know though is there is that sliding scale of your skill to the awful things that you do in sports, and it's one thing that I hate about sports. But it is very true, and we live it all the time. And this is why it's like, I believe in second chances. I believe that people make mistakes.
100%.
I wholeheartedly believe that people can change.
Yes.
I do believe that. There's certain things, though, that I just won't root for you anymore, and this is one of them.
No, beating the living hell out of a woman is definitely high on that list.
Yeah,
that's not a mistake. That's a decision.
And he said, I know a lot of people feel some type of way about me being back, and I understand that.
Which, again, as this goes on, you're like, okay, that's good.
It'll be a while before I gain their trust back, so I'm just going to go out there and play. If I get some more wins, people's perspective will change.
See, it was
no, man.
doing good. Okay, like I'm going to go out there and play. Then you follow it up with something along the lines of, I've got a lot of work to do on myself. I need to show that I can be a part of this community, that I understand what it means to be a man.
Yeah, but
instead, he went with points, rebounds, and wins. And Jesus Christ, what are you doing?
He said the quiet part out loud, but he's not wrong. There will be people that will be like, well, he can ball. And there are people that are like that. And that's what the Hornets are banking on.
Look, you can talk about the issues that Trailblazers have had and poverty franchise, blah, 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 blah.
Mm-hmm.
Here's what an actual poverty franchise looks like.
Yeah, this
is what a poverty franchise looks like. That no matter what, and look, I'm not saying that there aren't other teams and other leagues that aren't willingly doing stuff like this. The NFL exists on this moral standard.
Yep.
They have trumped and run these guys out over and over and over.
Yeah.
But my God, it is not. The bar is the floor. You don't need. It's not that high to clear with this stuff.
Yeah.
Because we've done such a horrible job as society with this.
Yep. Yeah.
Just stick to the talking points and shut the hell up.
Yeah.
Right. It's not that difficult. Just like, it literally it makes my freaking knuckles curl up, man. It's like, what are you doing?
No, and he's not gonna win me back no matter what he does. And there's a lot of people that are gonna be on the same. Like yesterday, we talked about Deshaun Watson and his shoulder injury, and like, does that hurt for him? Yeah. Does that suck for him? Yeah, it sure does. I'm not rooting for him, and I never will. I'm not gonna root for him to get hurt. I don't feel bad when he does, though, and I don't feel bad. Just like when he does something good. I'm not going to acknowledge good, bad, or indifferent because I cannot root for Deshaun Watson. I will not root for Miles Bridges.
I appreciate Miles Bridges for this. He let me know who he is.
Yeah.
That he does not care. That it's about money and it's about basketball and it's not about anything else.
That's true.
Let me know that you are the scumbag that I thought you were, so that I can move on and I can absolutely call you that and know 100% certainty that that's your character. That's who you are.
Very true.
So, all right, there we go. All right, coming up next, it's 2:00. It's Thursday afternoon, which is time for us to get our picks in. Coming up next on Danny and Dusty, 1080 The Fan. Coming into this week, Rust, I hear you had a
I had a rough week.
You had a rough week.
I had a rough week.
0-4-1?
0-4-1.
0-4-1. Dusty?
2-3 this week. I've got so many issues.
You're
right
500
now.
in the season, though. You're 25-25. Jeff Rust is a half game here behind you, 24-25-1. I went 4-0-1. I pushed. Ugh.
The Bills can take right off hosers. So can the Saints.
Yeah.
How did the Saints lose that game?
Because they're the Saints.
Well, look, Derek Carr gets injured.
Mm.
Who else got in? Somebody else got injured in that game. Receiver got injured in that game. Oh, Michael Thomas goes and gets arrested before the game. Like, it was just like, after I made that pick, I was like, the world is conspiring against me.
Yeah.
And they find a way to lose to the stupid Minnesota Vikings. Josh Dobbs, the pastor,
again.
he's got like, I don't know, aliens on his side.
He's got the juice, man.
They're looking after him.
Michael Thomas pulled a Costanza. Was that wrong? Should I have not done that?
Well, yeah, was I supposed to assault the construction worker in front of my home?
I got to plead ignorance here.
Gosh. So I got my beefs with them.
I did my hostage
But hey,
bet.
them's the world of betting.
Hostage bet paid off though. Raiders +1 against the Jets.
There you go.
So
there you go.
Tell you what, there's two things that
in
I trust
a game
this
that
year.
failed to have offense in it.
+1, baby.
Mm.
+1. There's two things that I've bet
God
on this
bless
year
it.
that have been wildly successful for me.
Uh,
The Texans
ooh.
and the Jaguars.
Yeah.
They've both been fantastic against the spread. Although I didn't take the Jags this week, thank God. Yikes. That was
Yeah, I was gonna say they lost 34-3.
they
so...
got slaughtered. Well, we gotta make our picks for this week. So Jeff, fire us up.
Am I going first?
You took it to the
Bring
limit.
it.
All right, let's take it to the limit. We're going to start out with the Bears at the Lions. Lions are cooking, baby. 7.5-point favorites, and the Bears, they're just now getting Justin Fields back. And by the way, they're still bad. Give me the Lions -7.5.
Justin Fields coming back might actually make that a easier game for
Yes.
the Lions.
Hard disagree. Bagent, look,
Beige and orange.
that is the most ridiculous thing ever. He looked like a D2 quarterback finally. Turns out Bears just aren't good. Turns out Bears just not very good at football.
Yeah.
Yeah. My first pick, I am going to go with the Thursday night special tonight. Ravens -3.5 at home against the Bengals. You lose the way that you did, blowing a 17-point lead to the Cleveland Browns, and now you have to bounce back against the Cincinnati Bengals. Both these teams need to win in a big way. I'm going to go with Baltimore. Less banged up Baltimore.
I stayed away from this game, but I disagree that the Ravens need this win. I think it's the Bengals who need it the most. I am also on the Lions, the fighting Dan Campbell's -7.5. This is the biggest line that I have taken this year. I mentioned it last week. Any line over 6.5 scares me. But the Lions, man, they can hang points up, and the Bears can't.
Yep. Ravens could go from first to third in the division if they lose.
Spicy.
So,
Spicy.
I mean, that's a pretty big swing.
Jeff
That's why
Rust-
I'm going Baltimore.
The Chargers keep letting me down, but I'm like an abused girlfriend. I'm going to keep going back to
You're
them.
not gonna do it.
I am going to do it. Give me the
Why?
Chargers -3 in Green Bay
Why?
because I'm a glutton for punishment.
Good Lord, man.
I really don't like my pick of Chargers -3 in Green Bay now.
One of these days, I'm going to get a Chargers game right.
Chargers, go.
I stayed away from them last week, and it was the right call. I'm going Chargers -3 at Green Bay.
Green Bay is so bad, but I just can't touch. I can't touch Chargers. I can't do it. I am going to go in a game that will feature absolutely no offense. I should have taken the under, but the under I believe is 32 now. Steelers Browns. I am taking Steelers +1 on the road. That is a road dog at the Browns. As bad as the Steelers offense is, the Browns offense is worse. And when you're talking about defenses, the Browns is great, Steelers is good. Just going on that vein. So we're looking at the canceling out of who's going to suck less. Give me the Steelers.
All right, I'm going with Vikings +2.5 at the Broncos. That's a road dog.
Also, you can get it +2.
Not on DraftKings, but that's where I got my pick from. I got my pick from DraftKings right now. It's +2.5. As I got it in my my first three picks. Actually, no, the Chargers one isn't part of it. I have a 3-team parlay that has the Vikings +2.5 at Denver to kind of squeeze that juice up a little bit more. Josh Dobbs, I like what the Dobbinator's doing. Look, there's no secret. Russell Wilson is playing far better football than he was at the beginning of the season. He actually is. I said this after week 1. Look, it wasn't Russell Wilson's fault in week 1. Week 2, you could absolutely blame Russell Wilson. Week 3, you could absolutely blame Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson is not the problem in Denver right now, but we do know where their ceiling is. It's not very high, and there's just something about this Vikings team. They're red hot right now. I like them as road dogs.
I'm going to Houston. They're hosting the Cardinals. Kyler Murray back, I guess, right? They're still terrible, though. CJ Stroud is... I couldn't have been more wrong on him. That guy is impressive as hell in,
awesome.
in the MVP conversation. I have a hard time believing the Texans can't beat the Cardinals by a touchdown, so give me the Texans -5.5.
Now I'm starting to get worried because Jeff Rust and I are riding that same train. I am riding the Texans -5.
It's an uncomfortable feeling.
Yeah. But Texans -5, touchdown score over the Cardinals. CJ Stroud is not only going to run away with the Offensive Rookie of the Year, he's not going to win MVP. He's not.
No.
But he's going to get votes.
He's really damn good, and he's really fun to watch. And I think it's credit to DeMeco Ryans, too. Stinky line of the week, I'm going to take it, though. Seahawks -1 at the Rams.
Yeah, that one does. It's got the Limburger.
Yeah. Now, week one, the Rams handled Seattle 30-13.
Mm-hmm. Different team.
But this is a team that has lost 3 games in a row. In Seattle, I'm just going to – I have to trust them a little bit more. I'm going to go Seattle a point. I think they win by more than a point.
And Stafford's back, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
So, Rusty?
It stinks.
I'm going to Monday night, Kansas City hosting Philadelphia. The Chiefs are 2.5-point favorites. I don't know why I'm picking this one. It scares me, but give me the Chiefs -2.5, basically just because T Swift will be in attendance again. And yeah,
their parents are meeting.
Yes, the parents are meeting.
Now, will the parents meeting take away from Travis Kelce's focus for the game?
The vibe?
Oh, no.
Yeah.
See, I think you're going to get an extra boost, even over the previous T Swift boost.
What?
Yes. So, yeah, give me the Chiefs -2.5.
He got the Kiss boost, and now he's going to get the parents boost.
Wee.
You love to see it. Young love.
All right, I will go with what do I have here? Oh, my final pick. This was the Horvat special yesterday. I don't like it, but it's part of my 3-team parlay that I've laid this weekend. Ravens -3.5, Vikings +2.5, Dolphins -13.5 at home against the Raiders. It is a massive line. The Raiders suck.
They do, but the spread's still too big.
Yeah. I know. That's what we both said. But Horvat's like, he talked me into it yesterday.
Okay.
So I'm going to roll with it.
That must have given you some pretty decent juice, though.
Yeah. Well, actually not as much as the Vikings +2.5 at the Broncos did.
Interesting.
For my final pick of the week, I got to go with the Jags. They're hosting Tennessee. Billy Jeans has been, he's been good. They're still losing, though. Trevor Lawrence does have a little bit of a knee injury, apparently, but he is not listed on the injury report. Give me the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Do you guys see
-6.5.
You guys see the fakesies on that game where somebody did a fake report yesterday that Ryan Tannehill had asked for his release and the Titans were going to grant it?
No.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that fell for it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was spreading like wildfire.
They get ball sacked?
Yeah, it wasn't Ballsack. It was somebody else, but it was like, it was a low enough level reporter that had like enough clout that you'd be like, it'd be believable.
Yeah.
Like, it was a reporter who's like notable in Tennessee, but not nationally. Like, it'd be like if you said something about the Blazers, Danny, and people ran with it, where it's like,
I am
hey,
Miami.
that's a name that people know, but is it real? And then it was like, nope, not real. That guy's got 1,000 followers, and he fooled a lot of folks.
You hate to see it.
So Ryan Tannehill not getting released.
No. I've got 2 picks here. Vikings +2.5 at the Broncos. I took that line as well. My last pick, I am taking the Jags. Jags-Titans, but I am taking the over 40. 40 feels like a low number. Look, the Titans don't score.
Yeah,
I expect
like
them to
that.
be about them to score about 18, but I think it's pretty easy for Jacksonville to score more than 22. I feel like this is probably a game where they score between 24 and 27.
Yeah, you could see that happening. Like a 24-17 game gets you to 41.
Yeah,
You're good.
So I think there's a pretty solid way for them to get to there. So
The Titans have scored 22 points combined the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Sure.
Because Will Levis is the savior.
Babe.
That's combined.
Yep.
Wait, that's not It's not it. That's not
That's
right.
combined the last 2 weeks, 22 points.
Well,
That's 11 points a game.
Will Levis is the savior.
He still is. It's really bad.
Jags defense not as good as the Buccaneers or the Steelers, though. Can we go with that?
Valid point.
Can we go with that?
Yeah, sure.
Sure.
I mean, it's not like they're exponentially worse than those teams, though.
No.
But for Danny's pick, I'm going to go with it.
Yeah,
for Danny's pick, I'm going with
We're going with it. I just think it's going to happen. All right.
Yeah.
The my overs and unders so far, I'm 100% on this. Year. And I just threw that under the bus.
Maybe
Now
that's all you
fall.
should do.
I mean, it's a nice it's a coward's way out, but it's how you win.
There we go.
So go. Those are our picks here for week 10. Week 11. Week 11.
Week 11 NFL.
Week 11 NFL. And I just saw a note that came through.
Already?
Yeah, week 11.
That's sad, guys.
I just saw a note that came through from the Action Sports Network.
Thanksgiving.
The public is up the most it's been up through 10 weeks of NFL action since 2005.
Take that, casinos.
Look, man, they didn't build those palaces in the desert off of losses.
Yeah, I know. Wait, have you seen the F1 thing is nuts right now?
Did you know how much you can get a hotel room for on the strip right now?
Probably $7,000 a night.
$18.
What? Nobody's going?
Nobody's going.
Really?
It was the oversell of the century. And they're not going to have this stuff torn down probably until January.
I saw that.
It is a massive issue.
I saw that viewership of F1 has dropped dramatically over the last handful of months because, I don't know, one guy wins all the races.
Yes. And not only that,
it's not competitive.
We're also not in COVID anymore.
Yeah. Dang, that sucks.
Yeah.
It still looked cool on TV.
Oh, listen, it's going to look amazing as cars going 200 miles an hour through Las Vegas.
Yeah.
On the strip.
That's right.
But, yeah, Arash Markazi has an article about it, and it's bad because it's a multi-year deal that they have set up. So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. So maybe, if you want to do a Thanksgiving week in Vegas next year, you might be able to get it cheap. Who knows? See? All right, those are our picks for the week. Lock them in. Stone Cold Lead Pipe Locks. For entertainment purposes only. All right, coming up next, we do have some Blazers news to get to. We also have the Big 12 partnering with the WWE. What the hell's going on? All the things are getting very, very strange all across the country. We'll get to that and more. Come here, Danny and Dusty, 1080 The Fan.
Like last night, it appeared to be the young and inexperienced team that was on the second of a back-to-back, but we're at that point in the season where your legs are not as fresh as they were at the beginning, and you're not just bouncing and bopping around. It's like, whoa, boy.
There's also this thing that the NBA has done, and I think this is actually pretty smart. So they've prioritized the in-season tournament, and they've made it so that nobody's on the second leg of a back-to-back going into the in-season tournament games because they want the product to look a little bit better. But the problem with that means the games following in-season tournament games can be a little clunky and disjointed.
Yeah.
And so the Blazers are on a second game of back-to-back. What was that, 3rd and 5 nights? They got home. I was talking to the guys. They got home, I want to say, about 1 a.m. Yesterday morning, which means they get home, go through shoot-around later in the day as opposed to normal because they just got home. And when you just get home, and this isn't to like excuse the loss. This is how an NBA schedule and 82 games work. When you play a road home back-to-back, you might as well have the second game be a road game.
Yep.
You're not home.
No.
It's there's nothing normal about it other than being in your own bed. But they're also absolutely crushed in the injury department. They're currently 21st in man games lost. So they're in the bottom third as far as injuries have hit them.
Yeah.
But it's not just the volume, it's the who. They're missing all 3 of their point guards.
Yep.
Technically, they have a 4th who's actually on the roster now in Skylar Mays, who has done yeoman's work.
He's fun.
In getting them organized and ready. But you can't just have one guy do it.
Yeah. And look, the other guys, when you put Bouye on the floor, and this isn't a knock on him because he's just not there and he's not ready. And if the Blazers had their druthers, they wouldn't have him on the floor, right? I mean,
he wouldn't be on the team because Skylar Mays would still be on a 2-way.
But this is where they're at, and that's what makes it like you're sitting there and you're looking around, you're going, oh boy. Sometimes these things get out of hand, but what we're seeing though, the bench boys look good.
The bench was great last night. I mean, the bench outscored the starters,
and that you're not going to get that from Reith or Walker. I mean, that'd be great to see maybe a little bit more consistency out of Matisse.
I think you will get more from WAP, from Bari, from Tease than you would expect, but I don't think you're going to get 48 points off the bench on a nightly basis.
No. You want to see, but with Tease, you want to see that consistency. Matisse Thybulle last night, he played like that guy that we kind of expected him to be. And now that you have Kamara in the starting lineup, in the second night of him being in the starting lineup, you saw it was a different game for him.
Yes,
and
it is.
He was dragging a little bit, but I love his energy, and I just kind of he did not like have really any stats outside of a couple of steals. I think he was 0 for 4 from the field.
Yeah.
And that was tough, and those are going to be the ebbs and flows. But he's active, but mostly not noticeable last night. And that's that's what this team is, man. This team is going to have nights like last night, and you're going to sit there and you're going to look around, and you're going to throw your hands up and go, kid, don't blame it on Chauncey, and really don't blame it on the players. This is just what a rebuilding team looks like.
It's a feature, not a bug.
It's what it looks like.
And this thing is, I've had a bunch of people over the last couple of days who are like, I don't know, man. I just can't watch this team. Then don't.
I think a lot of people are going to be getting there.
It's not for you. This isn't to gloat. This is when we were talking about this summer. This city, this fan base is not built for this.
We talked about this a lot, in that you have to recalibrate how you watch a game. And really, for most people, I think it is you can know from the first 8 minutes of the game whether or not it's a game you should watch or not. Either you're about that life or you're not. And you'll get about 8 minutes of game time, and then you can just decide whether you're going to hunker down or you're going to be out, and you can check the score every now and then. And if it gets tight, and you could pop it right back on. But this isn't going to be a season that you're going to want to watch all 82 start to finish.
No, and I'm a glutton for punishment, and I love it. But also, there's trying to find the development stuff. And we've talked about this with Shaedon Sharpe so much. And Shaedon has been leading the NBA in minutes played. And I've seen a lot of people, especially at the beginning of the season, remember we were getting Shaedon Scoot need all the touches and all the reps, and Shaedon's getting them and he's not producing.
Yep.
Because he's being put in a position that he's not ready for. And to be entirely fair, there's probably 5 guys in the entire NBA who can be a guy who plays 38 minutes and carry the entire offensive burden, and they're all MVPs. That is a very, very difficult position to be in. The Blazers are currently the worst three-point shooting team in the league, and I believe the second worst rim finishing team in the league. And one of the things I think that people are missing here is that, like, why are they so bad at finishing the rim? They've got guys that can finish. Yes, they've got guys that can finish on second sides. What makes a player like Damian Lillard special is that teams load up against him and he can still finish. That's what makes him special. Shaedon Sharpe last year, his rim finishing was very good because he was attacking second sides. He was attacking defenses in rotation. Help defenders were coming over. It wasn't a defense loaded up to stop him. And that's not to say that he won't get there someday. That's what the season is for, is to learn how to develop and to be that guy that breaks teams when they're set up to stop you. Or to see that he's not that guy. And I'm not saying that, but that's the world that we're in right now. But you get these opportunities, and this is how you watch this season, is you watch the failures, but you look for the small growths. A week ago, Shaedon was still struggling in the pick and roll department with DeAndre Ayton. Last couple of games, he's had more progressive passes. He's found him for lobs. There's things that he's seeing on the floor. Now, is he making mistakes? Yes, but also in his bad nights, like against Utah, he shot horribly, but he still had 7 assists and 8 rebounds. He's finding other ways to impact the game.
And those are little things that I think on the surface that people just don't want to hear, though, because it's like, well, they lost by 14 to the Cavaliers last night.
Yeah.
And like that's where you get to you have to be about that life if you're going to watch it.
You
but
have
there
to take
is
a
little bit of growth that is coming, and it's these little kernels. And there's a lot of people who have screamed from the mountaintops, tear it down.
This is what it looks like.
This is what it looks like. And you got your wish, and now you can't be the ones that are complaining about what the teardown looks like, because it could be far worse.
Yes.
It could be far worse. I mean,
you could be the Wizards, who, my God, they are so bad.
Yeah.
I will say this. This team, I mean, they have shot horribly. I actually want to pull this up real quick. They have shot over 45% in games 1, 2, 3, 4 times.
Yikes.
They have shot under 40% 4 times. They have shot under 42% 6 times from the field. On three-point percentage, the highest they've shot as a team this year is 36%. They have shot under 34%, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 times. They can't shoot. They can't score, and they know that going in. And yet, you know what, Dusty? They still compete.
Hey, you know what you don't have? James Harden. That's good.
My God.
Blazers have just as many wins, and they don't have James Harden on their team.
Or that headache. Good God. Everything that is going on in that organization right now, they wanted to have something to show when they move into their new arena in Inglewood right next to SoFi. Buddy.
This ain't it.
Buddy.
And they do not have an owner that has the patience to put up with it either.
No, it is an abject disaster.
Also, Blazers, same record as the Victor Wembanyama-led San Antonio Spurs, who are also 3-8 on the year. Samesies right now.
Just as a heads up, Cleaning the Glass, the fantastic site from Ben Falk, former analytics director for the Portland Trail Blazers and for the Philadelphia 76ers, based on the Blazers' offense and defense and their projections, like what the expected win-losses are for the Trail Blazers based on their performance so far. Do you know what that is, Dusty? How many wins would you say the performances have projected for them this season?
24.
21.5.
Oh, hey.
21.5, which is just better than the Spurs and the Wizards.
Take that, Spurs. What, they're going to get the number 1 pick again? Damn it. They are going to do it again, aren't they?
I mean, this draft isn't exactly great, so.
Oh, great time to rebuild.
Yeah. Well, the next year, though. Next year.
Oh, so we have 2 more years.
Can I interest you in 2025? Anybody?
Not right now. No.
Look, when this went down, what is the thing that I said? It's going to be at least 2 years.
Yeah.
So buckle up, Buttercup. But hey, I say this in full well. I am actually, as much as this team is not winning, I am very much enjoying this season.
And you should know what they are.
Yes.
And it's not a good team.
If you turn your brain off, and I know that is a massive ask, but if you turn your brain off and you allow yourself to enjoy the growth of the young players, I promise you there is fun in this. There is.
It's so hard.
Like I quite literally disregard the score, and then I will look down and be like, "Oh, they're in this game."
That is the worst.
And it's so much fun.
Wait, you disregard the score and then all of a sudden you see a team that's in a game?
No, I'll look I'll disregard the score and then I'll just find myself looking down
hey,
they're within
look.
5.
Hey, there it is. Yeah, maybe they could just take the lower third out. Who cares what the score is? Just let us figure it out on this.
Just go full Space Jam, like, hey, they're trying.
Yeah.
But in all seriousness, they do compete, and they are 14th or 15th. 14th, 15th. It depends on which site you look at. They are 15th in the league in defense.
That is a vast improvement.
Yes, so they're a functional defense.
Functional defense.
So there's something there to build on. Now, as far as injuries go, Malcolm Brogdon is day-to-day with his hamstring. I've heard there is a possibility he plays in the next couple days.
All right. Hey, that'd be good.
Ant is practicing loosely. He is out of the hard brace and into the same soft kind of wrap that Shaden has on.
Yeah.
And Scoot, his bone bruise, I would expect that Ant and him are probably back within the same week. So probably mid-December.
Boy, that Scoot injury went from not that serious to that's significant.
So what ended up happening was he did try to go.
Yeah.
And he just couldn't. And so they got additional imaging and they went, bone bruise.
That's what happened.
So it wasn't a thing of like they're trying to hide something or he's not tough. He tried to give it a go and just couldn't go.
All right.
So there's your Blazers update.
It's not that bad.
No, it's not. This is what we expected. All right, coming up next, we'll dive deep into Oregon State, Washington, because it is the premier and preeminent game of the weekend, and the implications not only for the Pac-12 but college football playoff are very huge. But first, here's the Big Kahuna with a Sports Center update.
You mind if I have some of your tasty beverage to wash this down?
Now, from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
This update brought to you by A&E Plumbing, Heating, and Air, serving Portland, Southwest Washington, and the Gorge, online at aneheatingandcooling.com. It's hard to stop a train. First on The Fan, Yahoo Sports' Ross Dellinger reporting Oregon State and Washington State are close to a 2-year football scheduling alliance with the Mountain West with an intent for a future merger. The model would have Mountain West teams play 7 conference games plus 1 game against Oregon State or Washington State. But Angie Machado of BeaverBlitz.com reports Oregon State looking at a 2024 schedule that includes 5 Power 4 teams, 6 Group of 5 opponents, and 1 FCS opponent. Michigan and Jim Harbaugh have withdrawn their complaint against the Big Ten and have accepted the remaining 2 games of Harbaugh's suspension. So he is out Saturday at Maryland and next week hosting Ohio State. In the school statement, they note they are still cooperating with the NCAA investigation. In the NFL, Cincinnati at Baltimore on Thursday Night Football starts at Week 11. The Ravens are 3.5-point favorites at the 5:15 kick on Prime Video. Bleacher Reports, Jordan Schultz reports Dolphins running back Devon Achane will return Sunday against the Raiders, barring any setbacks with his knee injury. And on the diamond, ESPN's Jeff Passan reporting Major League Baseball owners unanimously voted today to allow the A's to move from Oakland to Las Vegas. The team's lease at Oakland Coliseum expires in 2024, and they have yet to solidify plans for where they will play until the Las Vegas Stadium is ready in 2028. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Jeff Russ, Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk. Get in the game at Spirit Mountain Casino. Watch and wager with our sportsbook powered by BetMGM. Learn more at spiritmountain.com.
This is your home for year-round NFL coverage. The Odyssey app and
Yeah, and I love that, the B fans sitting there and getting all mad at ESPN for not bringing game day.
They should be.
To research. No, they shouldn't. No, because ESPN was like, oh, so you guys wanted to MF us for 3 hours and you guys want to stay? Okay, no. It's their call. Why would ESPN want to go there if all Beaver fans want to do is MF them with their signs because they are a massive reason why the Pac-12 fell apart? Like,
because
I don't blame
ESPN can't take the flak for actions that they committed.
But they're not going to put themselves through it. Why would they willingly do that?
Cowards.
Well, why would they willingly do that?
McAfee there would be great.
I know.
It'd be great theater.
Well, you know what McAfee also did? He knocked Washington State, which they are tied at the hip now.
Oh, I know. It'd be great
Lee
theater.
Corso called it the Who Cares Bowl. And guess what happened? Everybody got upset. Well, ESPN obviously doesn't care. Like that's a problem. And I understand why Oregon State is mad that ESPN, and it wasn't just their fault, by why the big networks, ESPN and Fox and CBS, are to blame for the demise of the Pac-12. I get it. Yeah, they should be mad. But don't be surprised that they're not going to come, because you can't MF them on social media all year long and then get upset that they're not coming to the biggest game in college football that week.
Sure you can. They're cowards.
Like, that's ridiculous.
Cowards.
Like, why would they put themselves through that? They're not going to do it. But this is the biggest game in college football, and it's not even close.
No. I mean, the second closest is honestly Arizona-Utah.
Yeah, and that's a huge game. That's a big game with implications for the Pac-12 title race too, because look, there still is outside chance that either one of those teams make it. But I mean, for Utah, it is a hope and a prayer. For this game, though, it is absolutely 100%. You have national title aspirations in college football playoff hopes for the Washington Huskies, and then for Oregon State, you want to keep your chances alive to play in the conference championship
they
game,
control their own destiny,
and potentially going out of the Pac-12 as a whole as the last champion, and being one of the teams that's going to stick around. That means a whole heck of a lot. And they've got a really good team, and both of the last two matchups that we've seen between these two teams have been incredible. I mean, we talked about it earlier before Angie came on, but 2022, you had 10 unanswered points. Lights go out up in Washington, and boom, that was a 3-point game decided. Last 2 years ago, you had another game-winning field, a walk-off field goal for Oregon State the last time that this game was played in Corvallis. Like, these two teams have played some really good games, but for Oregon State, I know we talked about this with Angie as well earlier, that their secondary was a big question mark coming into the game or coming into the season, and they have played very well, and they've grown as the season's gone on. But make no mistake about it, they have been a big issue in the two games that Oregon State has lost. They have given up 348 yards through the air in the two games that they've lost. At least 348. That's the average in their losses. Albeit it's only 2 losses, but that's a heck of a lot more yards than what they give up through the air normally, which they're middle of the pack in the Pac-12 for yards allowed per game. Heading into this game with this team that lights it up, they have got to be, those are going to be the guys that you have got to lock down. Rome Odunze is that man. He is so damn good. And he will get open and he will hurt you. It's everybody else. It's the Jeremy Bernard. It's, whether you get Polk and McMillan. Those guys are the ones that you have got to slow down, because Rome Odunze is going to get his. And you should love the fact that it's going to rain, because that could
you
be
want this thing to be ugly, because you can
great equalizer
ball.
Is if you can control the clock, you can run the ball, and you force them to run the ball. That is huge for Oregon State. And I am really excited to see, it's a battle of two wills, which one is going to win. Because if Oregon State secondary can just contain, you're going to give yourself a chance to win. It's not going to be a blowout for Oregon State. It's not going to be a blowout for Washington unless the rain is no factor whatsoever and they get behind the secondary. This game is going to be tight, and it's going to be a fun game. But if the weather plays a role and Damian Martinez and Deshaun Fenwick get rolling, Washington, very rightfully so, should be on upset alert. Vegas thinks it should be, and they should be, because the styles make the fight. The weather may help that style of Oregon State.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see just how effective Washington can be, not only with the weather, but with Oregon State's front seven. Can they get in there and ruffle Penix's feathers? Because Penix has not looked the same since the Oregon game. There's been plenty of noise. Like, he's been good.
The flu bug going around the team were the 2 games where he was really not right.
He also got stuck in the ribs, and that was something we kind of heard behind the scenes, that it was probably something that was bothering him.
He looked okay last week. He looked like he was
that's
back.
what I want to see is he back? Is this offense back to just firing all over? Because that first half against Utah, they did not look great.
No, but Utah's defense can do that to you, right?
Sure,
they can do that to you. You have got to be balanced to beat the Utah Utes, and Utah gave him their best shot, man. And was he not? He wasn't as efficient as he was early in the year. And if you want to see more of that efficiency back, then absolutely, yeah, that's going to be a big one for Penix and this Washington team. But look. Every time you go into a game against Washington, the question is, can your secondary hold up? You could have the best damn secondary in the country. And that question is going to be, will your secondary hold up against UW? It's kind of exacerbated with this Oregon State team because of the fact that we have seen the 2 games in which they have lost. It was because their secondary, for lack of a better term, fell apart, including a no Fafita.
Yeah, I mean, and you take a look at this Oregon State team. They're 33rd in the country in total yards allowed per game.
Mm-hmm. That's good. That's good.
That's a really good mark, and it's not like they haven't played anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Now they haven't played. Obviously, they
the
missed
toughest games of their schedule the next 2 weeks.
The next 2 weeks, you get Washington, Oregon, and you get a better understanding of this. But you can only play who's in front of you, and in those games, they've dictated. They've been very good with it, with the exception of the Arizona game, which damn.
Well, it was really that Washington State game and they have not been nearly as bad at all since Cam Ward, and they broke Cam Ward in Washington State. That second half, we can all agree that they have not been the same. And Cam Ward, I think, did he throw for 300 in the first half of that game, and he ended with 400?
Yeah, he went absolutely bonkers.
He
and got completely shut down.
In the second half, they turned around. And I don't know if they figured something out that everybody else keyed on, and that's why Washington State has taken a turn, or if it is all the outside noise about Jake Dickert wanting out and the outside noise being too much for Washington State. That team has not looked the same at all. But they are going to be tested this week, and I can't wait for it, man. I cannot wait for it. It's going to be that heavyweight fight. Beavs need to start fast, too, offensively. You cannot fall behind.
Number one, yes, you can't fall behind and chase points against Washington because that's when their pass rush can really start to tee off and look more effective.
They've won 18 in a row when leading at halftime.
When you're chasing the game against them, that's when they play their best. What I'm really interested to see also is Washington's offense is incredibly prolific and it's built around Penix and wide receivers. But Johnson has been back there, and Washington has been more than happy to hand him the ball and let him get 6-7 yards a pop. And is that something Oregon State is going to be able to withstand if they do drop? The blueprint against Washington has been flood the coverage, live with the running game. Is Oregon State okay with doing that? And is Washington okay if the elements force it to turn this into, hey, you want to sit back and let us run? Yep. Then we'll ugly this up too. And you talk about the styles making the fights. That's something that I'm really interested to see is who's interested in playing whose style. As far as being dictated by the weather or other unforeseen circumstances.
I don't think Washington wants anything to do with playing Oregon State style.
I don't think they want to, but will they, if it's successful, will they be willing to?
Run the ball?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Every coach wants to.
Well, I mean, does Penix want to sit back there and throw it? It's just
absolutely.
I'm saying. All right. Coming up next, take a quick look at Bengals Ravens. We have a fantastic matchup. Who does it mean more for?
So good.
Coming out of tonight's game on Thursday Night Football. Danny and Dusty, Tonight the Fan.
excited.
I am too. I love the Bengals. There's something about Joe Burrow that I really just loved. Lamar Jackson has decided he wants to be accurate again. So this is going to be interesting. You think it's bigger for the Ravens. I think it's bigger for the Bengals. The Bengals, they lose this game. They lose this game. They go to 5-5. That is a precarious spot to be in the AFC, and you might put yourself too far behind the 8 ball to be able to do much.
Still in the wild card hunt, though, with the way that the AFC wild card is crazy. We were discussing this when you were out, that if you look down from the 7th team in the AFC right now is 5-4. The 14th team in the AFC is 4-5.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it is insane.
You don't want to be in that mess.
How close this is.
It's a wicked bell curve.
Oh, Nelly. And you have the Bengals coming off. They've got the toughest schedule in the NFL remaining. The Ravens are coming off of one of those losses that one eats at you. You're up 17-0 and you find a way to lose to the Cleveland Browns. Even like an injured Deshaun Watson too. You find out, you're like, oh crap. I'm pumped for this game. I think this is going to be one of those AFC North slobber knockers, but it's not going to be like the 6-3 games that we used to watch where, Big Ben would be out there just like stumbling around and it'd be punt, looking like it's Iowa taking on, Northwestern. This is going to be a little bit more offense. And that's the most fun part about watching Lamar Jackson with Todd Monken's offense is how you said he's decided to be more accurate. How much easier those throws look for Lamar Jackson. Like everything is coming to him so much easier. And it's really fun. And the fact that Baltimore has done this again